Picture, if you will, a time and a place where in a single moment, everything and everyone you know is stripped away from you and your entire life is turned upside down. An event impervious to even the Twilight Zone. Yes, I'm talking about a third-grade new parent dinner. The Twilight Zone after show starts now.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
That's right! Here we are, the whole gang back together.
Yes!
Hello! Is it Kaos J you were looking for?
He's here.
He is here. We missed you. I don't know that you missed us, but we missed you.
I did,
that's
yes.
All right, well, we're glad to have you back. And next to him, of course, it is the angel in our midst.
Oh, wow.
I'm just commenting on the comments from last week
Yes, hello, it's me.
that we're looking for.
It's me, Angelica Trey.
And next to me, Raiven.
Hello.
So here we are talking about Point of Origin. And I'll just, before I ask everybody what they thought, I thought we were on a really good upward climb the last couple weeks. I really liked the last two episodes. And then there was this one. Raiven, what did you think about Point of Origin?
Oh, well, you know, when it ended, I think of you now at every ending because I wonder if you like it or not.
That's sweet.
And because he has such an opinion about
I
the
like
end.
that you would think of me, like, the more terrible the ending is, I assume that's how much more strongly you would think of
This
me.
terrible ending, it reminded me of you.
Yeah.
I wanted more.
But honestly, the rest of your life, terrible endings in anything, I
Right.
hope will make you think of
Yes,
me.
forever.
Like 10 years from now, I'm going to get an email like, I saw this movie, it had the worst ending. How are you, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah.
I wanted more.
You wanted more?
Yeah.
I mean, I think...
Okay, yay! Someone agrees.
No, I agree real quick. Yeah, I wanted more, and I really just wanted a lot more. I had so many questions that were unanswered, and I get that that's the whole thing about Twilight Zone. But at the same time, I feel excuse me, I feel like they could have given us a little bit more. But we'll dive into that later.
And Atra, your thoughts?
I kind of agree. It's been on a bit of an upward climb,
Yeah.
but this one was a little too on the nose for me. It was just very straightforward, and honestly, I found myself wanting to launch into another dimension, and just and just kind of have a whole episode about maybe transporting
The other
dimensions or
I
something.
wanted to see the other dimension, actually.
Exactly.
I wanted her to get sent back.
That's
So you wanted more.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
If
You
that's what
wanted
you
more.
meant by it, then yes.
I did,
wanted to see less of the on-the-noseness and more of the sci-fi-ness.
I thought Angelica and I were talking before the show. I think last week was the one week where they had the right balance of social commentary with it still being really interesting and entertaining. It was a little heavy-handed last week. Some people in the chat thought it was far too heavy-handed last week, but I thought it was the right balance. This one, I think the scales were definitely tipped way in the well, you know what we're talking about, right?
Wink, wink,
Yeah,
wink.
right. So this was about as subtle as Baby Doctor, I thought. I think that, oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Baby.
Dr. Baby.
I wish people could have seen the look I got when I said Baby Doctor. But, I think that there's a lot of interesting things about it. There's great performances in the episode. We'll go through all that. But I think on the whole, it was, I don't know, it was just a little too obvious. And I don't know. I sometimes I feel like when Jordan Peele comes out at the end, he's going to scold us for not appreciating the lesson we were just told. And then he has an ice cream cone, and I'm like, well, that just threw it. I just I can't take you seriously right now.
See, I like that.
No,
though.
I thought it was. I did, but I
giggled.
couldn't. I think it was funny.
Yeah. Right.
But I was just like, well, I can't take this seriously. Like, why do you have ice cream?
I legitimately said to myself, why does he have an ice cream cone? And then I went, oh, ice cream truck.
Yeah, right.
should
Well,
not
yeah,
be
exactly.
All right, got
If
it.
we let go of the on the nose, because it seems like that's their thing.
It is.
Yes,
we-
this show is
Be
the
able
on the
to-
nose zone. Absolutely. Yeah.
Might we enjoy it a little more?
If they put it in the title, no, I don't think that would help. Let me just 1 second. In the chat, Garrett North says. Wait, I think it is Garrett North. This episode was about as subtle as a sledgehammer. But a sledgehammer from another dimension, I think, is the part that you're missing. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say that
I actually thought
I
that was
can
one of
look
our
past.
phones.
You say what?
I thought that ding was
Oh,
one of
yeah,
our
I
phones,
did
and I'm like,
too.
no, wait, that's a
Right,
sound
no,
effect.
that's not me.
I was like, who's the idiot? I think it's me. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
But
Kaz.
no, I didn't even necessarily have that much of a problem with the fact that it was so on the nose. I just wanted them to give me a better explanation. I felt like they took so long to drag it out to kind of get you so emotionally invested in her and you know, and oh my God, look at what's happening to her, that they failed to get you caught up and say, okay, well, this is what's going on. She's actually not from this dimension, and she is from this world where this happened. That's what I needed. I needed to know what happened. These random ass flashes that you're giving me was not enough. Like I mean, obviously we can figure out what happened. Some kind of apocalyptic event happened, but tell me more. Explain to me why you guys have such a problem with them,
These people,
the pilgrims, which I thought was an odd choice of words to describe essentially immigrants.
Well, I mean,
Well,
who are the original immigrants to this country?
Pilgrims.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and what did the pilgrims do? You know, just some smallpox blankets and you know.
They named some really cool ships. I mean, the Mayflower. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Why was it called the Mayflower? I don't know.
Did they sign the
See, I
Mayflower
was hoping you were
Compact
gonna
on
like
it?
break
Right.
down this whole like,
I was
I
waiting.
believe so.
I'm thinking of a good pun right now, and I'm working hard
yeah,
on
just
it.
let that
I
one.
was gonna betray my ignorance and make a joke about the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. I'm like, well, wait a minute,
Yeah.
that's Christopher Columbus. I'm way
Oh
off.
man! All right.
Way
Well,
off.
you know what? This isn't a history podcast, so let's keep moving.
Welcome to the
forward.
history zone. But it's
History
history of
zone.
another dimension. I do agree with the point. Like, I would have liked to have seen more of it. I think. Let's talk about Jennifer Goodwin. I think she did a great job
did.
as someone who has no idea what information they're trying to get out of her. I mean, we've seen this sort of a thing. You know, I mean, you see it pretty consistently. I mean, on the big screen recently, you had that in the Captain Marvel movie. I mean, you have a lot of these people are like, yeah, look, I don't even know what you want. I mean, you know, and I like that the upbringing that she had is just like, well, obviously I'm going to be able to buy my way out of this. A couple of different times, that's what she goes to. But I thought she did a good job as somebody, you know, going through the literal physical excruciating pain, but also just the emotional pain of being ripped away from her family and having no idea why. You know, usually you know why you're ending up in a facility where people are interrogating you.
Well, it was cute that she really thought that it had something to do with her letting her maid use her address.
Yeah, which was only like, you know, 2 minutes before her maid gets dragged away.
Did you guys have any thoughts on that? Like, did you have a suspicion of why she was there or anything? Or
What
were
do
you,
you mean?
Oh, you
why?
mean like why?
before she found out?
So Jennifer Goodwin.
What
Yes,
were
like,
your
yes.
guesses for why she got taken away? And
I think it was because she was going to let the charter school believe that her maid lived there. No, I actually never thought that for a second.
I had a weird moment where I was like, maybe this is a crazy episode about
charter
hardcore
schools?
Charter school. That was
Yeah, like,
don't know.
do not lie to your charter
yeah,
schools.
feels a little bit more like a Goosebumps book now.
well,
but
people
like,
are
hey,
in jail for that type of thing.
yeah.
No, they are.
Okay. Yeah, bribing into school.
Do you think Lori Loughlin could have gotten her maid's kid into a charter school? I don't know I don't know in the Twilight Zone whether or not that would have worked.
Let us know in the chat.
But I didn't really actually. I didn't have a real thought as to what it was. I didn't think actually that she was from another dimension. Well, let me turn it back on you. Did you have a thought as to this was where she was from or this sort of thing?
Well, it was interesting for me because I think the first scene where they did try to indicate maybe something's going on with her, she's staring out of a window and her eyes look kind of glazed over. And I think a lot of the cinematographer, the CG work that they do with that, I've seen in other works, and generally it's used for like androids. So for a second I thought maybe she was a robot because her eyes
It's
had
funny
a
you say that. As
film
you
in
were
it.
talking, Leo Lima, it popped up in the chat. I suspect that she was a replicant, which is a reference to Blade
Yes,
Runner,
Blade
or
Runner.
something like that, because of
Or
her
do
eye
Angels Dream of Electric
when
Sheep?
she was right. Well, that's the story that it was based on. When she was looking at the sky, yeah. So there was that look. I wasn't quite sure, you know, who she was or what she was, but look. There was a whole Stepford Wives vibe to her. So,
Oh, yeah.
you know, the very like, you know,
Stepford
somebody.
kind of thing?
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
somebody who said, I thought, Garrett North again, I thought she looked like a 50s housewife, so I was confused when she pulled out a modern iPhone type of device. I mean, just go to the suburbs. I mean, I think, yes, it's definitely heightened for the show. It doesn't look that different than this, especially like the wealthier part of the suburbs that, me and my friends would go trick-or-treating on Halloween, so we would get the big full-size candy bars. And, I know that neighborhood where Jennifer Goodwin's character lived, but I certainly didn't live there. And, I think you'll kind of get that vibe. And, the interesting thing was when we see her with her friends, well, she is certainly the least terrible of all of them. She's actually a decent person. Right. She does say to her housekeeper, yeah, sure, of course, you're like family. Yeah, you can use the address. I feel like the other two ladies would have been like, oh, yeah, let me think about it. And as soon as she walked out the door, she would have called INS, or I guess it's called ICE now. And been like, yeah, there's an undocumented lady walking down the street.
And I think you saying that, though, is, I think, the shock for some people, because the comment is, but I am a good person. But, my maid is this, and my friend is that. And I think that is the shock when you end up, in the case of the Twilight Zone, in this place. What am I doing here? Because I'm a good person.
Well, I think on top of that too, her kind of showing she has a little bit of give, in terms of that moral or that sweetness, was sort of an indicator towards maybe she relates in some way. So it was kind of tying that, and I think they were trying to do that early on.
I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, what were your thoughts? Because I saw that you had something. We're not used to having us all here.
I know.
It's a rusty machine.
You hear other sound effects going on, and he's sucking my teeth, and you're like, wait, who's? Oh, Chaos, he's over here. Okay, that's a good perspective. I think that yes, she is deep down she's a good, well-meaning person. But she definitely is is privileged. She comes from a place of privilege to a certain extent. And I feel like and her maid, I forget her name now, she brings Anna.
Yeah.
She brings it up when she gets to the same place where she says, like, I'm not part of your family because you don't know my kids. Again, let's jump back to where they're having that interaction where she's asking her, to borrow the address, and she's like, oh yes, of course, like, you're part of our family. But then she also reminds her too, oh, could you please get that? When the doorbell rings, like, oh, you're part of our family, but don't forget, I'm still your boss.
Yeah, you're part of our family, but don't ask us for health insurance like one of her friends.
Right. Now, I did like that when you get that table scene, that instead of it just being a bunch of, chalky white women sitting around the table and saying those kind of mean things, you did have you had a mix of people. You had a black woman, you had another white woman, and you had an Asian lady. So I like that they gave you a little bit more diversity. But hearing people all say the same things, normally we get that one broad paint stroke where it's just, oh, look at those bad white people saying those mean things. But the truth is, there are a lot of, everybody has some, can have moments of bigotry that, just kind of comes out in spurts. And I like that we got to see that. So
that's how you know that we have, at least in some small way, evolved as a culture, because
just a little bit.
Suburban bitchiness does not know the limits of color.
Exactly.
Everyone can be inclusive, and everyone can be an awful, terrible person.
Everybody can
regardless
be
of where their ancestors are from.
Or it's a dialogue on socioeconomic status and
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Oh, definitely.
Well, I think that's
if we
the
go
point.
the Twilight Zone way.
It's not about their race; it's about their income level. Their tax
It's
bracket.
definitely class.
Yeah. I thought that there were a lot of interesting things that happened along the way. There was a great line that her husband had when she was first being processed. He says, "This is America. Everything is a lawyer thing," because the guy said, like, this isn't a lawyer thing. And I mean, that is actually true. A lawyer can't get you out of everything, especially if you're in any kind of facility like that. For again, even any one of us could be there for a reason we don't know, and you could call your lawyer, and you may or may not get to see them. But I thought that. I thought that was just sort of an interesting part of the commentary too, because it's like, I know that you think that you can get a lawyer, but let me ask you first, Raiven, were you surprised when they sent the rest of her family home and it was like, oh no, you're not free to go, but they
Right.
can all go back to what they were doing?
What I wondered, I was surprised, I guess would be the word, but I wondered if what she said made him question, like, this one might be one of them. How did he know these are okay? But we have more questions for this one, because he brought them all. They could have just taken her the same way they just took Anna, but to bring them all in, and I don't know if it's maybe something more about the way she talked, or maybe something, the fact that she was willing to help Anna, did that let them know, like, oh, they helped their own. Let's keep her here. Let's see more about her. I wonder what made them keep her.
Okay, now, can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that's a good take. And then what about, I thought, this is something I thought was that maybe she really didn't have memory of where, you know what I'm saying, of who she was and where
she
from.
references these nightmares that she has.
Right,
Yeah.
she just has these nightmares. What if Anna, while yes, Anna was her maid, Anna was strategically placed in her life to keep an eye on her?
It does seem like she was her oracle or something, if you will, like guiding her through the.
That's something that's
place
a theory that I was rolling around.
See, I had the feeling that that facility was for all kinds of people who are here illegally, whether they're from a country illegally or from a dimension illegally. What did you think about that, Angelica? The fact that, her maid was there in the same facility, but by all indications, she was not one of the pilgrims.
It was definitely a moment for me where I was like, okay, there's a lot of women in here. They're all wearing the same jumpsuit.
Right.
And she's wandering, and it's very stoic. We're not getting a lot of
Yeah,
information.
but who
for
wore
what-
it best?
Who wore it best? I think it looked fantastic on everybody.
Oh, right answer, by the
Oh,
way.
yeah,
That's a
yeah.
very 2019 answer.
Yeah.
In 1986, we would have said they all looked like trash bags. But anyway, that's all right.
I like the jumpsuit look. It looks
All right.
nice.
Well,
very portal chic.
anybody in the chat wants to start a
Portal
Kickstarter to get Angelica one of those orange
Don't
jumpsuits.
forget about the charcoal
wear it
gray
here.
turtleneck
That's true.
under that
Yes,
too.
Oh
she
my
will
God.
wear it for
She'll
the
wear
last
that.
episode.
I was gonna say,
I
she'll wear
already
that
have that
ensemble.
turtleneck.
Great. So you'll wear that ensemble on the film. I'm sorry, I totally interrupted your commentary.
No worries. I knew it had to deal with immigration in some way, but I was trying to figure out
Where she was from.
and obviously we could tell there was something a little off with her, and that maybe she was wearing a sort of facade, hence the eye glaze.
I just thought she was from Canada.
Oh, okay,
Not just for
okay.
the Canadians in our chat. I just thought they would think that was funny.
So yeah, and then once we had Anna sort of cryptically lead her through some back alleys, and
Yeah.
then we see some familiar faces. I knew there was something a little more metaphorical here.
Otto, the janitor / guitar player at the supermarket. I
Yeah.
don't quite understand.
And he's like, we're from the same place.
Yeah, right.
Well, see, okay, so again, in the context of taking and putting this, against what we have currently in our current society in real time, for one, and it could have just been me, but I felt like as they were taking us through these different moments, I felt like the lighting got darker around her, and I felt like it kind of darkened her features a little bit. And like I said, it was lighting, but there are more fair-skinned Spanish people, and only just because we're looking at her maid, and well, why is her maid there? And then the person that was talking to her, I believe she might be Spanish as well. So then that's kind of where my mind kept going. Even though, yes, I do remember the whole eye thing, but that's kind of where my mind kept going. And then when he said she's going to speak to you and you're going to hear it as English, that moment, I wish they would have given us an outside moment where outside of her, we could have heard what that other language sounded like. So, but I don't know. Like, I just kept thinking, like, okay, it's an immigration thing. I mean, and ultimately it was, but I kept thinking, I still wasn't thinking another dimension, space, any of that.
Yeah, I think that and one of the things that's come up a couple times in the chat is true, and it's sort of what we were talking about. It's like, okay, so once it's identified who she is and why she's here, maybe they don't have the capabilities. But let me ask you first, Kaos, do you think that they couldn't send them back? Because the logical thing to do, if you're going to overextend the metaphor for immigration, is we're going to send you back now.
Correct. Yes, I think they knew how they got here, but they didn't know the technology and the method with which they used to get here. And I felt like that's probably one of the biggest things they were doing while they were tapping into everybody's brains, was because they were trying to see if, through hacking their memories, if they could actually see anything that would kind of give them, like any kind of indicator on what kind of technology they used to actually jump dimensions like that. That's kind of what I thought. That was really what it was.
Yeah.
I don't think they really cared what happened in that other dimension. They just want to know how you got here and how we can get you back there and keep you from coming back here again.
Right, and I think that finding out the method and the technology would have been a really great episode.
I don't know if there is a back there, because it would
Or
to me it would be
parallel.
the equivalent of they came from a war zone, or they escaped
Or it
from
could even be from the
someplace.
future. I mean,
But
Well,
for the
wherever it
context
is,
of
I
what's
think
happening now.
I think it's just decimated. But I
Yeah.
think there is a place, and I mean, I think that that's kind of the point. You
Yeah.
have people who are refugees or just people
Right.
who come across the border here. That it's just whatever they're leaving behind is terrible. Yes, there is still a there. But it's in varying degrees of, existence and whether or not they should go back.
And the metaphor was pretty straightforward. They're
Yeah.
seeking a better life.
Right.
And I think that's all we needed to know for the sake of the episode.
She was a
at
child,
least.
right?
She looked very much like a child.
Yeah, I mean, because they talk about how there were two instances. There was like a present day crossover from the other dimension, and then there was one 30 years earlier. Angelica, what did you think about when she breaks out and she finally gets home, and her husband is standing there with the kids, and I expected something different other than what we got, which was just like, you shouldn't be here. I thought, I don't know, they looked really stiff and robotic or something. Like I thought we were about to get some different reveal than what we actually got. What did you think when you saw that?
I think it definitely was going to be a situation of, you're not who we thought you were,
Yeah.
which is I think that's an appropriate response to that situation, right? If someone's actually been from another dimension, you'd be like, why didn't you tell me, honey?
but she didn't know.
But
Yeah.
she didn't know. But then they didn't know, and now they felt deceived. I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's like the ice cream man carried her back, and now her family just sees her as obviously alien, and that's how they looked at her. Also, did anyone else get like 12 Monkey vibes from her dimensional
From
thing?
Jennifer Goodwin?
Yeah, from her other dimension, her home
Or,
dimension.
when we would actually see the flashes of it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like La Jetée.
Yeah.
12 Monkeys. Okay, that I got that a little bit, like the nuclear kind of thing.
So Raiven, the husband had a pretty strong feelings, but the daughters, the
daughters look
creepy
empathetic.
twin daughters, were both just
creepy.
wanting. Yeah, they're a little creepy.
Only a little bit.
Yeah,
They just wanted to play with you.
yeah, the shining kids.
Yeah.
They just wanted to see their mom, and then the dad was like, "Nope, upstairs with you. Mommy's a fugitive." But what did you think sort of about that whole family scene, the way it played out, and ultimately the way it ended?
Underwhelmed, surprised, but in the context of today, not so surprising. It just shows how quickly people believe things and accept them. Not even just believe it, but accept it.
Yes.
People who were your friends who just said I had tea with you are now like, a gas. You know,
Just
it's
everybody lined up outside, like,
Right.
"Oh my God, I always knew she was
if
terrible."
that were me, I'd be yelling, let my friend go. Like, it's nothing you can tell me
I mean,
that quick.
if it was you, I'd been sitting there like, yeah, something always didn't feel right about it. I should have known.
I'd be like,
don't-
yo, where's that ice cream truck though?
Well, yeah, I mean, and
What's
that's really the takeaway we should have, right, Angelica? That if it's the dead of winter and there's a foot of snow on the ground, creepy ice cream truck, stay away. There's something going on.
No, it's never the wrong time for ice cream.
I mean,
And I will say this every single
Facts.
time. Yes, thank you.
What
Chaos.
What did you say?
Facts.
It's never.
facts, yeah.
It's never a wrong time for ice cream.
I mean, I agree. That's why. I mean, that's really the only reason I moved to Southern California, so that the ice cream shops
So it
would
was
be open
acceptable?
year round.
Yeah.
Yeah, because where I grew up, the ice cream closes I don't know in November and it opens up again in March.
Really?
And I don't know what I'm supposed to do during all
Wait,
that time.
really?
Yeah,
Go to the
like Dairy
grocery?
Queen closes.
My
yeah.
heart
wow.
just broke.
Yeah,
it did, 'cause I
1,000
love Dairy
pieces.
Queen.
Yeah.
You know, there's not that many around, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's all
Okay.
right. Well, we'll take a field trip to the Dairy Queen at the mall.
See, I like that at the
Heck
conclusion of the season finale. So, okay, there's a few things. Now we've seen a similar storyline in other movies, and here's the thing: you've seen where there's a couple, and one of them finds out that one of them maybe is an alien, or one of them is something else, or you look like a white woman but you're black, and it's the 40s, and if they love each other, and a lot of times there's that conflict, like we shouldn't be together, but we love each other, and they stay together. And I thought it was real cold-blooded that he just was, he just like, no, you shouldn't be here. Go. Now, granted, we did see, the whole tear thing, so we did get that, okay, he does feel some kind of a way, but just the fact that he was still so cold, that kind of
That's
rubbed me.
crazy.
To me, it seemed unrealistic. But
Well,
again, to speak to just real quick,
Yeah.
to speak to what you said about how people are so quick to turn, we see that this whole cancel culture that we have now, where people can love someone. And let an old tweet resurface,
Oh, yes.
or an old video clip from 15 years ago, and now it's like, oh, they're the
Hashtag.
worst person. I knew they were terrible all along. So I don't know, but I just feel like a loved one, even your significant other, even if you find out they're an alien, you still loved that alien. Like, the alien is a different life form, but you love them for who they were. So what changed besides their genetic makeup?
Well, I think for
Love
him,
that.
the
Beautiful.
reason why he wished that she hadn't come there was because he does still care about her, but it's like you jeopardize the well-being of your family, and also if you ran, you probably could have gotten away. But you came back to the one place that, of course, they're going to go look for you first.
Of course,
Yeah.
he
But
why
called.
wouldn't she-
I think
but-
he called
Right.
because
you
she
think
left him a message. She left
Right,
him a
right, right.
message. I think he called.
Right.
Yeah, old snitch.
And that was that's what we're all thinking, right? When she was trying to escape, we're like, honey, where are you gonna go?
Yeah.
You're
Yes.
gonna go back to the same spot.
I mean,
what's
you don't-
gonna happen?
because-
She doesn't even know how the supermarket works, So
I loved that whole scene, or the series of scenes where you get to see as they do the normal routine, and with Anna it was one way, and with her she was completely clueless. I like that. I like that contrast. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think maybe a father might have been able to do that, where he would have been able to run and keep going and just be like, oh, I miss my family, oh, and go on. But a mother, I think it's harder for a mother to really just completely abandon her babies. The good ones anyway, because we know there are some bad ones. But the good, so I don't blame her for going back.
No, because
dumb.
she wants to get her family and take her family with her.
Right.
But maybe the thing to do is, a little bit more Shawshank Redemption. You run away and then you send a postcard, right?
Yeah,
They'll
maybe-
understand where you are. Yeah.
a little bit of logic,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't be the Twilight Zone.
Because it was
No.
already
So
daytime when she got there, right? It was already daytime, which they told her. He told her they're gonna do the bed check in the morning, or the bed count. I'm like, girl, it's already morning. This is bad.
And
I should have
honestly,
waited till the night.
yeah, Anna had some good intuition. Like, maybe you should have gone with Anna. Honestly,
Now,
Yeah,
see,
no, Anna's like, I'm not getting in that ice cream truck.
I don't trust him.
I don't know where Anna went, but wherever she went, I bet she didn't get caught.
She didn't.
True that.
And see, my mind went to a whole different Taken level, because I thought, okay, she's getting in this truck, and Anna's reluctant to get in the truck, but she's not going to get taken back home. They're going to, they're going to sell her off or do
I
something
actually
else.
thought it was going to be the metaphor for, what you hear about coyotes taking people across the Mexican border into the U.S. I actually thought that that's what it was going to be,
Oh, okay.
which would have been a very darker thing. But I guess, I don't know, they only had 2 minutes left, so I guess they weren't going to introduce that storyline. But that's what I thought. I wanted to give a shout out to one more of the actors in the episode. I do think Jennifer Goodwin was great as Eve, but the stern black-suited official who is interrogating her, that's James Frain, who plays Sarek on Star Trek Discovery. He was also on Gotham a few years ago. I thought he was great as the... I don't think I like you, sir. That was my reaction, not Jennifer Goodwin. That's actually how I felt about him. But I thought he was great, and little CBS All Access cross promotion. So I thought, and the actress who played Anna, I also thought was great, especially that scene where she has of like, what's the name of one of my kids?
Right.
Danielle. Yeah, although I would never let my help talk to me like that. I don't have any help. It's just a joke. I don't have help. But if I did, they would not be allowed to talk to me like that.
Can I say the daughters? That's me as a partner. Like, cook dinner for you. Grubhub.
Yeah.
I was about to say,
great.
the first
like
thing
how
that
they
hopped
threw that
into
in
my
there.
head, the first thing that went through my head was sponsored by Grubhub.
Yeah, the product placement's a little heavy-handed on some of these shows. There's no commercials.
That
You got to pay for it
Starbucks cup in Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
man.
well, I mean, think about how much people have been talking about Starbucks. That's the best product placement
Oh yeah.
that you ever had.
You know Starbucks is milking that.
In the chat, we only have a couple minutes, but in the chat, Jack says the family situation changed, and it made the family seem guilty by association, and he did not want to be attached to it. So they're just like, I can't have these girls taken away from me. I don't want to. I'm much too pretty to do time. Is probably what he was thinking.
And he probably thought she was lying to him the whole time, and what are we gonna do? We run from the law? Like,
Not only that, but then in that kind of environment, in that neighborhood, status is everything. Reputation and image is everything. So there's already a stain on them because it came out that she was a pilgrim. So it's like, okay, I don't want this stain. I want to go ahead and be able to restore my status, because in that kind of environment, as crazy as it sounds, that could have affected his job. That could have affected a whole bunch of stuff, because they're like, oh, you sleeping with the enemy.
Yeah.
So.
And you know what else it could
It was
affect?
cold-blooded, but what
Keep
else
going,
could it
no, keep
affect?
going.
No. I did not want to mess up your segue.
No,
I don't
it's
either.
fine.
I think we all want to hear it.
We're all in.
We all want to hear it.
The kids. There's a whole immigration metaphor here. What
Yes.
do we do with the kids?
Because
Well,
the kids are half
part,
her.
Yeah, exactly. They're part pilgrim, so to speak.
But
so-
technically, they were born here, so
But what are we doing right now in politics
aren't they
today? I feel
naturalized
like that's part of
born
the debate,
citizens? Right, but no, yeah,
right? I
kind
don't
of.
know. They could have taken it like so many steps further to
Yeah.
that.
But
That's
then
what I'm
again, that
saying.
would have been even worse. That would have been even more on the nose, and we'd have probably complained about that. We'd have probably been like, "Oh, this was an episode that was like 40 minutes too long." Had they extended it to give us a little bit more,
I needed something.
background. But I really just cared about the dimensional stuff and what happened to get them to come over and how they came over. All the other social commentary, I get it. We live it every day.
Yeah, I was like, can't it be more on the nose? I think we
Yeah,
got it.
I think it might be the most on the nose that
it's
it could possibly
right up,
have been.
right up on the nose.
One comment from the chat, Leo Lima points out that from the old-time Twilight Zone was kind of a timeless vibe to the subjects they tackled. This one seems very rooted into the very specific immediate concerns of 2019. I think that it'll feel... It might even feel dated in like 5 years. And actually, somebody, I think it was Stratagon, pointed out the Grubhub references won't age well. But that's what happens when you do product placement. Anyway, look, this is why we have the show, to start these kinds of conversations, and we're always happy that we get everyone in the chat to do it. And it's always fun talking to the three of you about it as well. And just one final thing is, there was some news about this show. I don't know if you all saw it, but on the day of the season finale, which is 2 weeks from today, all of the episodes will also be available on CBS All Access in black and white, like the original series was.
Wow.
So there's some of them that I think would actually look really cool in black and white.
Yeah.
And yes, we could go in and change the settings on our TV and watch them in black and white anytime we want to.
Will we be confused about those dimensional flashbacks?
When they're, what those should be in color.
Ooh, flipperoo.
Yeah, Yeah, and the final
like
thing
it.
is this was episode 8 in season 1 of the Twilight Zone. The original incarnation, season 1, episode 8, is Time Enough at Last, which is my all-time favorite episode. This was not on par with that. But anyway, we've kind of covered that over the last hour.
Wow.
In any case, just being on the nose about it.
All right.
Kaos J, where do people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, KAOSJ. You can find me on Instagram, Chaos_Jones.
And A-Trey, if people want to know what you're eating this week, where should they go?
You can go to my Instagram at Angelica Trey or A Trey on all the other platforms, including Twitch.
Raven.
You can find me here on Mondays, Gentleman Jack, check it out, HBO, and on social media, Raiven French.
You can find me here a lot of days of the week, including Tuesdays where I do the Chernobyl after show, Tuesdays at 9 Pacific. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ. We will be back next Thursday at 10 Pacific. Until then, we will see you all in the Twilight Zone.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.